tell us about a time when you have faced hatred, discrimination, or bullying, and how did you respond?
My last campaign, when I ran for 6th Ward City Council, there was a lot of hate mail about me. But I didn't feel that I needed to do something personally about it. I can tell you that if I saw hate happening or discrimination against someone else, I would clearly stand up for them. But I don't feel that when it's, especially as a public official, I don't believe people should do it, but when they're doing it towards me, unfortunately, that's part of the world we live in politics. But if it's to just an average citizen, it's completely inappropriate, and I would do anything I could to stop it from happening.
Council President, sometimes seeing hate is not enough. Hate exists as soon as you scratch the surface. I have never felt discriminated against in my entire life until I ran for public office in the 1st Ward. Whisper campaigns about my sexuality have only grown where a member of the school board made an offensive comment. They've only grown in this campaign where your own supporter, as we've spoken about, has contacted my partner's job and his employer trying to intimidate him. And that level of hate is not acceptable. So if you don't see the hate that exists in Hoboken, Council President, you don't know Hoboken. You don't understand that a majority of this city feels that they feel left out. The majority of this city feels that they don't have a voice. So if you don't see this divided community that's been divided by your council presidency as well as this administration, you don't walk the streets of Hoboken. So this is not about me. This is about an inclusive voice for Hoboken. Somebody that is going to be unabashed in inclusion, making sure that everybody's voice, no matter who it is or what they say, has a seat at the table. And it's about inclusion. It's about challenging conventional thought, not just on the municipal issues that we've talked about, and not just in terms of the issues that we're facing and what we want to bring to Hoboken, but having somebody that has traveled this world, having somebody that has sat with our housing authority, that knows what's going on in Manhattan in terms of LGBT rights, that's fighting for women's rights, that's pushing when we hear hatred issued against our councilman in Ravi Bala, somebody that's standing up despite the politics. I will not condone even a whisper of hatred in this city, both as a councilman, as your mayor, and certainly not as a private citizen. So I believe that a politician needs to do more than just see hate. We need to identify hate and then push for a more inclusive, thoughtful, better tomorrow for all of Hoboken. Thank you.
I'm the grandson of Italian immigrants that 2 of them couldn't speak English. I've been fortunate that early in my life I've felt some comments from my ethnicity. But having the wonderful parents that I did and the ability of growing up in Hoboken during a time when it was very ethnic, and I had both my grandmothers lived in the housing authority, and I don't visit during election time. I'm down there constantly. I play ball still to this day. I see, and as Michael said, being a police captain, I was involved in 2 or 3 bias crimes where we caught the perpetrators, and it was a disgrace what had happened. I think that one has to have that ability to profess a policy that it won't be accepted, as Jen said. I would not, if I'm mad at someone, it's not going to be because of their ethnicity or sexuality. I represent a large portion of the gay community in Jersey City, and I think that, as was said here, I think everyone feels the same way. I don't think what was right was happening to Councilman Bala. I wouldn't tolerate that myself personally as a police officer. I prided myself on not tolerating that. Or at the same time, a couple incidents that happened to me in my life, even recently, remarks with regards to, I believe in strong women. I surround myself with strong women and opinionated women, and comments have been made that I find offensive, and I think that it shouldn't be tolerated. People make comments that are they're ignorant, or they have some hostility within themselves. They don't want to admit what they feel. So again, I don't know to the extent that I felt what Michael or Ravi has felt, but
I just got to say first and foremost that I'm not angry, and I love myself. So I think you have to love yourself to be able to take those kind of, let's see, I've been called fat, overweight, you're not qualified. I mean, I could go on, and this is whatever. I mean, Michael, you sound really angry, and I get your anger. I really do. You sound angry when you talk about it. So I would wonder why you'd live here if you're that angry about, you know, this hate that you talk about in Hoboken, because I don't feel the hate that you feel. I feel there is definitely some stuff going on, but I don't feel hate. I feel this has been going on for centuries. People make fun of people. It happens all the time. And we address it, and we try to stop it. And, you know, like the time that you sent me that note, you said to me, you know, how dare you not show up at this LG, you know, your event that you had as a mayoral candidate. You asked me why I wasn't there. But you didn't ask me how I felt. And, you know, I've spent years at Elaine's on 89th and 2nd. And let me tell you something. Lily Tomlin, Robert Altman, myself, all of us, we all did, with a happy face, change in the city that is the leader in change on these kind of issues. So when you didn't ask me how I felt about, you know, gay, you didn't even know that I have a brother who's been married twice in Hawaii and in Boston. So I don't have a problem with anybody. I love myself. You need to love yourself to answer the hate, if that's what we're talking about. And I don't feel that in Hoboken. I feel a lot of great community and a lot of wonderful people. So I just, if you hate, and stop it.
So, not many people know this, but I was an undocumented immigrant. The first 11 years I lived in Hoboken. Yeah, I came straight to Hoboken. I have family in Hoboken that are born and raised as well. And so, yes, I did experience some discrimination in terms of, you know, that, no, I shouldn't be able to go to school. I shouldn't be able to go to college, or that the fact that I would never be able to get a U.S. citizenship. However, the way that I addressed that issue was by proving them wrong and going forward and going to school and paying my tuition, you know, and being able to be an active citizen, even if I wasn't, by leading by example. The way that we really address any hate is, yes, by addressing it, but also with more diversity. We need to increase our diversity in town. We need to increase the diversity of what we hear, of what we speak, of what we sing. I think that by bringing that together, I feel like we can really come closer together as a community, which we already are. And the way that I see it is that hate is the exception in Hoboken. It's not the rule. The way that I paid my college tuition was by cleaning homes all around Hoboken, 30 families with my mother. And I'm able to say that people that I cleaned homes for, they were well off. However, they were the nicest, most simple people that I've met. So I always defend that part about Hoboken. That's the essence of Hoboken. We have to still fight the exceptions. Thanks.
I've spent my entire life being subjected to different forms of hate, discrimination, and bullying. When I was in grade school in New Jersey, I was the darkest skinned student. People would regularly refer to me using the N-word, which I won't repeat. In the 70s, during the Iran crisis, people would call me Ayatollah. Then the 80s came, people would refer to me as Saddam Hussein, and then after 9/11, I became Bin Laden. So this is not something that I'm unfamiliar with. More recently, when I was a councilman, I sent a tweet about a multi-use walkway along Sinatra Drive. Somebody responded with a hate message saying, "How did Hoboken elect this guy? He should go back to his country," with a hashtag of terrorist. So how did I respond? I asked him out to lunch. I said, leadership is having a positive response to hate. I wanted to talk to that gentleman because there's some disconnect, and I wanted to understand why he felt the need to send that hateful message. So I think we need to have a positive response to discrimination, hatred, and bullying. I really do believe that love does trump hate, and I have a track record on the city council of speaking out when hate incidents occur, whether it's the vape ban incident, whether it's President Trump after the election. There were 787 instances of hate after the election, which the president condemned himself. I introduced a resolution expressing the council's condemnation of anti-Semitism, assaults on the LGBT community, assaults on immigrants, assaults on women. Leadership means speaking out on those issues too, and also on the travel ban. So I've shown actual leadership on that issue, and I think that being a mayor is getting the local issues right as a #1 priority, but they're not mutually exclusive. I can walk and chew gum at the same time.
At a city council meeting, someone tried to punch me in the head, and nobody actually stood up for me on the council. The only time I've ever thrown someone out of a council meeting was because things he was doing towards Councilman Bala that Councilman Bala didn't even notice he was doing to him in the back of the room. And when Councilman Bala was attacked when he ran in 2013, I was the only person to write a letter to the editor defending him. So I find it interesting that it isn't always a two-way street.
Karen, you labeled my passion, of which I spoke with, as hate. And you said, if I can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. And that is the bullying,
No.
yes, that is the bullying that I'm standing up to. And it's not just about being gay. It's not just about having a partner who is on a green card and knowing what it's like to have somebody detained at an airport and not being able to go home with the person you love, Karen. That's why you're so distant. Just because you partied with...
I'm distant.
Just because you
Really?
partied with Lily Tomlin in the 80s makes you... aware
Those
of
people
what, excuse
were
me, this is
were
my
the
time.
change of it.
And you can speak all you
You
want.
can attack me all you want to, but I'm telling you, you are so wrong, counselor, and you have no right to talk to me about how I feel and what I am.
The title is councilman. And second of all,
Councilman.
just because you partied with Lily Tomlin in the 80s, Karen, does not give you any credit to know what myself or my partner go through.
I didn't say
in due
that.
respect, and this is a nonpartisan election, you can see why the vitriol and the hate is part of your party right now. And
Why?
Shame on you.
Time.
Oh, wow. Wow, this is where it's going to get good. Get this going.
As we were reminiscing going around the table, I rode with the first female officer in Hoboken police history, the first gay officer in Hoboken police history. And besides some of the, as Hoboken growing up, believe it or not, it was not as bad as we thought it would be for Karen. Not this Karen, my partner Karen. But the times that I felt it the most was from other male police officers said to me, why are you riding with us? Now, not a lot, but just a couple. But the good thing that I get out of that was Hoboken was very acceptable of that.
Michael, I'm not going to yell. I'm going to tell you that I have a gay brother that I stood up for over and over again back in the 1980s when it was really much more difficult with no help
I'm aware.
from the community. And while he was picked on and relentlessly picked on, I was in a rock and roll group, and I went concert to concert from Vermont to New Hampshire, Burlington, Boston, and I stood up for it all the time. So I promise you,
Where is
I
that
am not
advocacy
hate.
today? Where is that advocacy today,
What are you
Karen?
talking about?
Saying if I experience this hate, I should leave this
No,
community?
that's not what I said. I
That's
said
exactly
you
what
feel
you said.
you feel
Shame
like
on
you're
you, Karen.
angry.
I'm
Use the other way
passionate. I am
once.
passionate about who
It's
I am
bullshit.
and what we're. Excuse me.
It's bullshit.
Sorry. This is exactly why you do not
Yeah.
have the temperament to be mayor, Karen.
Oh no, Michael, it's the temperament's coming from you, not
Okay.
from me.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm sorry, it is.
It's okay, we're not monitored by the FCC.
Got it.
No.
We're not?
So I think all politics are local, and the way I would, give a call to action to the elected officials here today to really support Hoboken being a welcoming city, so that because the fear that you have in people when they're undocumented, and you don't know how many people are undocumented in Hoboken. Nobody knows, because nobody likes to come out and say that they're undocumented. That the fact that the fear of not knowing whether or not immigration is going to come in and take you away to a country maybe you never met. I think that calls for action, and that's something that can be done right now. It's not political. It's human rights. It's not just immigration rights.
I was, or I am born and raised in New Jersey. I think it's one of the most diverse states in the country, and Hoboken is a diverse community. I'm very proud to be a part of Hoboken and its diverse community. Ron just made a call to action. He just challenged all of us in this room. I will respond positively, and I will, as mayor, make sure that we are a welcoming community and that we will codify that in our ordinance, in our laws. So my response to your call to action is I'm up to the task, and I would challenge my colleagues to say they're up to the task as well.